Ta-da! I think we got it. Okay, hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Soul Centered CEO Show. I'm here with my new friend, and I'd like to welcome Mr. Roland Cochrun. Thank you so much for being here, Roland.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. I love live has a new place in my heart now, given everything that's been going on. I absolutely love when we have the chance to connect with new people and then a live audience as well. It's something that who knew we would find it out of our lives. I certainly didn't think that would come, so it's extra special now.
It is, especially to be around people that are like-minded, right?
Mhm.
I listened to one of the interviews that you had done recently with a mutual friend, and I just was really inspired by your story and your outlook, obviously your energy and just your heart for service and what you've created out of your life. We have a very similar story around our passion for traveling. I know you've been on quite an adventure as well, just like I have, and I love that you've been able to create a business model that allows you to be where you want to be with the people that you want to be with and do work that really is meaningful to you. So I'm excited to share a little bit about your story and where you've come from. I know that you have created several successful brick and mortar businesses in your past, and then you've made a little bit of a transition, and now you're helping other entrepreneurs with that are mission driven and help them create their body of work and a life that lights them up from the inside out. So we have a lot of similarities there. I'd love for you to take a minute and just maybe share a little bit about your story of how you got from where you were to where you are now. I think when we share our stories, it allows us to feel, seen and known and connected. And also it's inspiring so that way people can see what it has taken for you to get to where you are today. So maybe you can take a minute and share a little bit about
Yeah,
that.
absolutely. I agree so much with what you said. I think, I think it was Brene Brown that said, everyone has a story that'll drop you to your knees. And, it's important to think about that because, you know, it's never easy. It doesn't matter if you came from wealth or family wealth, or if you came from um, an area of the world that was more advantageous. Life just hurts for a lot of people in a lot of different ways. And so absolutely sharing story and learning through story, I totally agree with you. So to that point, as a young boy, I remember just being in a lot of pain kind of my whole life through growing up, especially through my teens. Pain of wanting to feel seen, wanting to feel heard, wanting to be significant. I felt, a lot of anxiety and even anger from maybe being, I don't know, irrelevant or, did anyone care? What was I going to do? I don't know. I felt from even a young age, I felt a strong, um, pull towards impact and meaning. And it created a lot of problems early on because when you're a young person, it's like the overwhelming challenge is, how do I bridge that gap? How do I go from being a young person that has so much to learn to being someone who's able to do that for others, something for them, and in turn build something for yourself, because that's kind of how this whole economy works, where for those that pay attention to business, it went from industrial to kind of tech, and now we are what most people call is the connection economy, and it is solving problems for each other and exchanging currency as the reward, I guess, for you solving my problem. And so that's, in a nutshell, without going into details, kind of the journey that I went on was, how can I go from where I am and transitioning into a place where, yeah, my work is meaningful and I'm making that impact. And it was a long, tough journey. And like you said, yeah, I started with some brick and mortar stuff. I got college degrees and actually got my doctorate degree and tried all the stuff to make it happen. And in the end, it wasn't as complicated as I thought. And as I made it was actually quite a bit simpler and easier than anyone ever told me.
Wow. What if we could let it be easy, right? That's
Uh-huh.
a phrase I've been really thinking about recently. It's like, what if we could let it be easy? What if we could allow ourselves to expand into, the next level, the next iteration of ourselves in our lives, and how can we be of service, and how can we make it easy? That's really one of the themes that this whole platform, this Soul-Centered CEO concept is really about, is how can we take our divine gifts, our talents, our passions, our purpose, and craft something that allows us to expand our level of visibility, of service, of impact, talents, and turn it into something that allows you to have a life of really of service and of freedom. I feel like that's probably one of your core values is the time and space freedom. And it looks like, at least what I've seen from your work, is that's what you're doing for yourself and what you're helping others step into as well. Is that kind of the impetus of what part of your work is around creating freedom so people can serve and give in the way they feel called?
And I love, absolutely, you're 100% spot on. It's where I've arrived to. Well, I guess you never arrive, but it's where I've gotten to a really comfortable place where now I'm just fine tuning ways to make more and more impact. So yes, and in my opinion, it's the only work worth doing. But I'm careful how much I talk about it on, one of my biggest things is not making things complicated. And so to speak, if I remember where I came from in a world of, anxiety and fear, I guess, if I think back to when that happened, it's a lot of things have to line up for you to be able to transition into that new place. And so I really do, I'm careful talking about becoming, I guess, soul-centered, if you will, because it is really hard to think about doing that when you can't pay your bills right now, or you're not living the life that you want to live. And so hearing the message of, make impact and become fulfilled, you almost are resistant to hearing that message, because I don't know. I think you don't want to hear. I think you don't want to hear the message at that time. And so I am really careful of making it too complicated. I like to speak on a level that people can understand at the time, which is, I guess, bite-sized steps.
I did the same thing. You get all the degrees, you do all the things, you work really hard to create a life that you think that you want, only to be then trapped in that where you don't have the space or the time to do the things that you really want to do. Maybe whether it's travel, volunteer, spend time with your family, or whatever. I know for myself, I really had to look at my life and think, wow, I've made it to the top of this game. Like I've made it to this level, which is the highest level I could get to unless I went and started my own company. But I'm also trapped now in that fancy corner office and with that paycheck and all those things that were really important at the time. And now, after 3.5 years of being out of that world and being able to be wherever I wanted to be with who I wanted to be with, it's been extraordinary how just by giving ourselves permission to create something different, it has allowed me, and I'm assuming you as well, to just have experiences I never would have been able to have had I stayed in that same safety, the same structure. You had to go through a period of just massive giving yourself permission to do life differently, to out of things that that were no longer important to you, to create what you've created now.
Yeah. So I think what you said that was really big was, the corner office was important at the time. And I love that, because it's those comments when I'm speaking to my audience and my clients, because I'm trying to speak to them where I remember being. And yeah, that corner office was important. So was the Audi and all the other stuff. It was. And you didn't want it to not become important, because that was how you had defined this success that you were trying to achieve. And through when you grew up, that was what you saw and what you wanted to do. And so I'm never going to push back on that, because part of the journey is understanding your relationship with these things and what they mean to you. And yeah, sometimes you have to learn the hard way, unfortunately. I know I have. And um, I I get what I would say is you don't need to learn the hard way. If you know in your heart of hearts that that car is just a car and it is truly not something that you absolutely need to be happy, you can think about that really hard and maybe not buy the car. But unfortunately, I think the very Western way of it all is to learn through making the mistakes and watching your emotions and how you feel afterwards, because that's typically not it's typically, you don't typically feel how you thought you were going to feel, and then we feel very guilty and full of shame when it doesn't land in the way that we were hoping it would land. And so avoiding that altogether would be nice, but yeah, I think you have to learn the hard way, unfortunately. At least I know I had.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that one of the things that I talk to my clients about, and I don't know if this is a concept that you probably, at least in some form or fashion, I talk about consolidated suffering. I was in the corporate wellness, my career, my industry expertise, if you will, is in corporate wellness. And so we talked about compressed morbidity or consolidated, like how do we keep people as healthy as possible, right? For the longest period of time versus long time in chronic illness. So that's kind of in my mind, it's like, how can I help my clients now consolidate that learning, that pain or the suffering? How can we make that as short a period of time as possible for the highest level of transformation, so we can quickly get them to where they need to be without all of that, hopefully, on the path, on the way, right? Instead of like a 30-year terrible marriage, like let's just go ahead and, do the things that we need to do to get you where you want to be in the shortest period of time possible. So it feels like you've already had like lifetimes and you're only 31. I think that's so
Yes.
great. So that you were able to get through all of that. Because here's the other thing I think that happens to a lot of people is that they spend their entire life, 30, 40 years on that trajectory. And then they get to the end and they think, wow, is this all there is? Right? Is this all there is? And I remember for me, one of the catalysts for me to step out of that corner office and to really be like, all right, put your things in storage, pack your stuff and get out of here. Like do the dream, like live the thing, live the life that you've been dreaming of. It's when I was almost 40 and I remember thinking, how much longer am I going to do this? Right? Is it really that important? And I think as we get older, things shift, our priorities shift. I was listening to someone speak this morning about something that he teaches on, and there are these connecting questions, right? And one of the questions, like when you're in a group setting, it's like, what is one thing that used to be important to you that now that you're a little bit older is no longer important? And to me, it sounds like it's, it is the corner office, or it is the fancy car, or it is the thing. And not to say that you can't have all of those things, but for me, what I realized is that I wanted my time back. I wanted my freedom to use my time, whether it be to work or it be to do other things, but just having this space and the freedom. And that takes resources, right? We talked earlier before we jumped on live is that, it takes money and it takes resources to be able to do more good work in the world. And I think part of what I'm passionate about right now with this whole Soul-Centered CEO movement is helping people, wherever they are in their life, be able to step into the next iteration, the next evolution of their service and their life and their leadership, so that they have the freedom to serve. They have the freedom to travel. They have the freedom to volunteer or to do the thing that they want to do, but it takes money to be able to do that. And so I love that you are now working with mission-driven entrepreneurs, helping them to create a life of more freedom and more space with ease. And so that way they can do more of what they're passionate about. Is that kind of what your focus is right now, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's you put it, you worded it beautifully. It's the idea of making, you mentioned how people could live 40, 50, 60 years doing this nonsense, right? The power of coaching and for those that are listening who have hired a coach, it's making whatever you want to have happen faster. So if you trusted yourself only, we're emotionally connected to everything, right? Everything that we see as a projection, and our brain applies meaning and definition and labels to what that is. And so we're navigating within kind of this hypnotized narrative of what we think we're supposed to be doing. The danger there is, what if that imagined reality that we think we're living isn't actually that way? And that's what happens is, and to us, this house and this Audi and working your way up in this company or whatever is going to actualize some sort of dream for you. You've told yourself that story, even though I bet you, if you really stop for a second and just actually thought that, okay, what does all that mean? Well, my mortgage just went up to $12,000 a month. My car payment's $1,900 a month. That new position that I worked so hard for demands 70 plus hours, and I could become fired at any day that I don't hit whatever it is that the corporation's after. Like, if you word it that way, really, that was what you were working towards? And so that's just an example of why hiring a coach to invite you up to a different viewpoint and say, okay, hey, before you exhaust the next 23 years of your life, right, working who knows how many hours or screwing up and making mistakes that you shouldn't have made, it's like, hey, come up here with me, your coach, whoever your coach is, and hey, let's look at the thing from up here. So you're telling me this and this and this and this and this. And then they're like, well, yeah. And then that's when it's like, okay, what are you actually after though? Because I think if we look behind the car, behind the corner office, behind the house, it is these core beliefs of what we actually want. And we want to feel heard and respected. That's what the house and everything means is, oh, I made it in this world. Well, that's not even deep enough, because being heard and respected isn't really that complicated. Being heard and respected is saying things that people respect and saying things that people want to listen to, right? So really what you're after is a life and a career where you are getting those two things, which honestly has nothing to do with the house, the car, or whatever. That was the story you said. Oh, people I know who get this have these things. So you just keep peeling back the layers until, yeah, you think you discover what you and I discovered was, I didn't want the money. I wanted to be free from the money. It's just, I knew if I had a mountain of it, I would be free from it, right? But I would also challenge people and say that's not even necessarily true, because you can modify, if you want freedom from money, you can modify your lifestyle, how you live, where you live, to get it to a threshold where you become free from money, or build the career piece to free you from money, because the career is built in a way that it will fund your lifestyle. Whatever that formula looks like, you can make it happen. It's when you refuse to not buy the house, the car, and the corner office that the problem begins. Because if that is truly the definition of the life you're after and this success or whatever it is that you really are trying to achieve, then yeah, you're going to get that. And if you're not careful, that'll be all you'll have.
Right. You know, it's so interesting. I was thinking about it when you're speaking about having all the things and doing all the things, right? So in my life, I've owned 2 homes already, and I've already and sold them. I owe I owe nothing and own nothing. Like I own less than I ever have in my whole life, right? It's just so funny how I had to come full circle though to get to the point where I'm like, I have 3 suitcases here and that's it. And I could be on a flight in a couple of hours to wherever and have everything that I need. And I have less than I've ever had, and I have never been happier. It's just really interesting how when you can finally find the significance and the satisfaction and that honor and that respect for yourself, you also require it less from outside of you. You know, a lot of the work that I do is around self-sourcing, a lot of it, right? And it really comes down to self-love, I think, around, you know, we're taught our whole lives to seek outside of ourselves for acceptance, approval, validation, appreciation, everything, really. When we can start to self-source, it's shocking how much of the need for stuff kind of falls away. You know, it's really interesting. And I think for a lot of us, we're taught our whole life, you've got to, you know, you go to college, you get married, you get the house, you buy the things, you do all the things, which is a very lovely path, but it's also not the only path, right? So I think by honoring whatever the path is that we all individually, uniquely desire, the more in alignment I think we can come into that. That to me is where the magic lives, and that's where really the happiness I've experienced in my own life, and it sounds like for you as well. When we're doing the thing that we're meant to do, we're the most excited and the most fulfilled, which is also a beautiful way to live as well.
Yeah, it's the only way to live, in my opinion. I think everything else up until that point, if we really look at it, that's our quest. We are all on this quest to, and that's where the home and the car can sometimes be a distraction. And like I said, it's okay if you want those things. Me and you have had them. So like I'm one to talk because I've did that. And some people like nesting in that home and that belonging to that community. And that's great. I love it. I personally have chosen to just be nomadic and see more, but other people might not like that. And there's nothing wrong with that either. It's getting to the root of what you're doing. And so I guess the message that you and I want to invite the world to consider is, what if it's not what you think it is? And what if it's a lot easier, or you could make a very small change right now, and that trajectory would end somewhere financially abundant, time abundant, happiness abundant. Living in your purpose sounds very cliche, difficult, especially for someone who's not and just doing the thing and working their face off. And, they might not be ready to hear that message, or it might not mean something to them yet. My advice would be, what's your purpose right now to you? What's your best interpretation of what that is? And do that. And then see how it lands, and then change it next time so it can land deeper and land deeper. Because honestly, it is finding your thing, and what the marketplace wants from you is, I'm not going to say it's challenging, but you need to find it. And the only way to find it is through experience and action. You just have to act. You have to. So how am I 31 and have built, financial and time and location freedom? From just ruthlessly acting. Every day is massive mistakes, massive action, spending money, making money, losing money, screwing up, launching a product and having no one buy it, and then launching another product that was just kind of made up, and all of a sudden everyone buys it. It's just, that's the stuff, that's the game, and it just never ends. That's why I say I've lived like 5 lifetimes. I want to live, but I could die tomorrow, and I don't know if I would be that heartbroken. My journey's been so meaningful and fun, it's just a game to me now. And it's so much fun. I want everyone else to have the same amount of fun that we are, because life and work should not be a negative thing. You should not be living for the weekend.
Right.
I work on the weekend and
Yeah.
I take the week off. Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I get it. And I think, one of the things for me too has been the ability to create community, right? Virtually has been extraordinary. And I think what I have realized, and I don't know about you, but that's the one piece for me that has been a little bit of a challenge, because it's like, okay, I still want to create containers and community. And that's really part of the vision that this CEO movement is. It's surrounding yourself with incredible humans that are in alignment, that are doing their soul work, that are on purpose, and creating whatever that is in the world, right? Whatever their magic is, and creating a collective of people that can support each other,
Mm-hmm.
right? I think too, when we step out and we're being brave and we're doing things that are outside of the norm and outside of the box, we also need more support, whether it be
Mm-hmm.
through coaching or whether it be through community, or a combination of the two of those, which I think to me is the special sauce, right? So for any of you that are listening, I would love for you to just continue to stay in the conversation and be part of this community that we're building, and just know that you're not alone, because I think it takes a village to create magic in the world. And when we can connect and come together, people that have a like mind and a like heart and a vision, a big vision, I think that's when, at least for me, it's the most exciting thing to create opportunities for us to do more together. So thank you so much for your time today. It's
Mm-hmm.
been so lovely to get to know you more and hear more about your story and your life, and just be inspired by what you've been able to create. And I just appreciate you being willing to share that with me and our listeners, for those of you that are that have joined us, whether you're here.
Yes, I know. I love it. It's so cool. Yeah, the only way to do it faster and do it better is to latch on to other people who not even can help, who want to help,
Right.
because that's when it's going to happen. We develop, for those who are listening still, and we can post a link. We have a tool that helped me and my clients that I love in terms of guiding you towards that first step to purpose, to unlock freedom. And it's rolandcochrun.com/soul-centered CEO.
Perfect.
And it's a great exercise, and fill it out, and hopefully it will unlock a way that you can start sharing your version of purpose right now with people, and watch where that goes. It's where I start with all my clients, and it was my first kind of taste of purpose and freedom in my first business. So I'm excited. I'm so happy that we did this, and I love helping. I love what you're doing. I think this is fantastic. Everyone needs something like this in their life at some level, right? That's what I would counsel everyone, is just get involved with it. No matter if you feel like you're worthy right now of it, that's just a story you're telling yourself. Get around people like this, because here's how I always say, if you're not confident or worthy, borrow some of Roland and Haley's confidence and worthiness. Borrow ours.
Right.
We'll give it to you, because the only difference between you and I was a few decisions. It's really not that difficult for everyone to be living this. And I want more people to live in this way, because the yacht gets lonely out there. I want all of us to be out there on Monday afternoon. It's it kills me being alone on Tuesday in the middle of the day. I want all of us to be congregating and be abundantly living. It's way more fun that way.
Way more fun. I love it. Okay. Thank you so much again for being here. I'll be here live every Thursday with another soul-centered CEO. So you're welcome to continue the conversation. So thank you again, Roland. Have a wonderful day, and we'll be in touch soon.
Yes. Thank you so much.